and will continue working to ensure that the lives of Nigerians are better. Reforms, Mr. President, congratulations. You really started reforms on day one. The question is, what kind of reforms? That's what Nigerians will be asking. Are the reforms good or are they bad? If you say you hit the ground running, where are you running to is the question, because you might not be running to the right direction. I'm just saying. But if you're running to the right direction, Nigerians will be the better for it, and we're going to see. One of the policies that we know that you started implementing from day one was subsidy gone. And we have seen how that has led us. Some other countries have also done similar things, like Kenya, I think. And then after a while, they saw that it was more harmful than it was helpful for the economy and the people. And they revoked it and they went back to the old ways, but with some kind of reforms. So as we applaud you for bringing reforms to us, let there be the reforms that will reform our life for the better, because it's not everybody who is running to the target. There's a saying that sometimes there might be a lot of activity without productivity. So let the activity be productive as well. So the federal government revokes 1,633 mining licenses. They did this through the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development, and they revoked 1,633 mineral titles previously given to non-complying mining companies. The Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, announced this on Tuesday, November 21 in Abuja. He said the licenses of these minerals title holders were revoked due to failure to pay mandatory annual service fees of 1,500 naira per cadastral unit. In line with the powers conferred on him by the MMA 2007 Section 5A, that's how he revoked the licenses of 1,633 titles. And I'm just wondering, so these people had licenses and mining has been going on. How much money from this mining has been coming to the federal coffers? Just like the mining app, because I usually like to call even the extraction of oil from the soil mining as well. So how much of this money is coming into the coffers of the federal government, just like the oil money is coming into the coffers of the federal government? So if that sector will be sanitized and everything will be transparent, which a lot of Nigerians doubt, if everything will be transparent, then the diversification we're talking about in Nigeria possibly will be achieved in no time. Because if we don't do that and we rely on oil, the world is moving away from oil. We don't know what will happen even in the next year. Maybe everything oil will fade out. We have solar generators now. We have solar-driven cars. We have solar electricity. We have so many other things that we're using the sun, God-given sun, to get energy from. So we do hope that a lot will be done, and transparently too. The 440 million naira bulletproof SUV we bought is not for the Chief of Staff, but for his office, Lagos Budget and Planning Commissioner Okpe George says. The Lagos State Commissioner for Budget and Planning, Okpe George, has provided insights into the recently released 2023 Lagos procurement budget. On Monday, November 20, Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, received criticisms after details of the recently published 2023 Lagos procurement budget made bulletproof vehicle for the office of the Chief of Staff of the Governor. In an interview on Tuesday morning, November 21, Okpe George stated that the aim of publishing the budget was to strive for accountability and transparency. He went on to state that the Lexus LX bulletproof vehicle was assigned for the transportation of dignitaries, not for the Chief of Staff. There are certain specifications that need to be followed when purchasing these vehicles, according to him, but they have also purchased certain vehicles from Volkswagen in Nigeria, so they do not support, they do support local vehicles and manufacturers. And we just, I don't know, the office of the head of service will have bulletproof cars. And then they said the dignitaries will be transported in that. So when they are going on an official assignment, they enter a bulletproof car when they finish the official assignment, they enter any other car that is not bulletproof, so that we know that it is only during official assignments that they can come to harm. Well, we still will not understand, may not be able to understand how government thinks, how people in government think, and why they do what they do, because if it is in black and white, we would say that's wasteful expenditure. How do you buy perfume for 7.5 billion? How will the head of service come to harm? Who is after his life? We don't know about that. So if the head of service will have bulletproof car costing as much as that, how many will the governor have that we've not known over the years? But I thank the Lagos State government in the first place for publishing the budget. Now people are talking. Now they know what things that the people will be against. When they publish again next year, and as I hope they will, then some things also will be pointed out, and gradually there will be change in our polity as we've always wanted it to be. Well, those were all the headlines that captured our interest before the headlines of today on the newspapers. So we're going to take a break now and return with the headlines on the newspapers on what we call Off the Press. Stay with us.
Sometimes, it's not just the distance we travel. It's the gaps we close. It's not the things we buy. It's the memories we create. Sometimes, it's beyond the places we go. It's the connections we make. Not just the things we taste. It's the taste of things to come. And it's never a question of if, but when. Because life is always just a bit better with American Express. Introducing the Access Bank American Express Gold Card and the Metal Platinum Card, now available through Access Bank.
An African girl somewhere is sitting at home, accompanied by dreams that seem so far away. Africa is one of the continents with the highest out-of-school percentage in education, and girls are at an early disadvantage. The sub-Saharan Africa records about 18 million out-of-school girls. This gender gap extends to the tech space with a projection of only a 33% global female workforce representation in tech firms for 2022. Let us help change the stories and numbers. Africa Agility's Project Train a Girl campaign is working to help train African girls in tech. You can donate as little as $2 or 2,000 naira to help a girl in tech get her heels in the door. Visit www.africaagility.rallyup.com/PTAG to donate.
When you hear of drug abuse, what comes to your mind?
When we say drug abuse, it seems like something that is so distant, but it's happening every day in our homes.
1 in every 4 persons has mental illness.
Regardless of your notion of what drug abuse is, you are sure to get the right meaning here. Welcome to Regardless, an anti-drug abuse television show put together by Christ Against Drug Abuse Ministry.
Regardless, the anti-drug abuse show, airing on PlusTvAfrica every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
So what are the tough decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, PlusTvAfrica, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thought and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Cars have become a very important part of our everyday modern lives, mainly for transportation and for a few, a display of wealth, a show of luxury. Cars are a way to keep history, a nostalgic reminder of our past lives, and this is what this classic car show, which recently held in Lagos, achieved. Car lovers from different parts of the country attended, and owners showed off their vintage cars. Some of the car owners tell us of how their love for vintage cars began.
This is a 1966 Mustang Shelby Cobra, and I've had it for about 7 years now. So it was handed over. So I had a family who had it for 50 plus years. So they wanted to sell it, and I got it from them. When you drive these cars, you have to be attentive to what you're doing. When you drive a car that you can put a cruise control, you tend to get reckless. Now you have to be very attentive because you have to be sure what you're doing. You have to be in control to drive the car versus I can push a button and the car drives by itself. But I've always been into them. I mean, I drive the newer ones, but I've always wanted something like this. I've always had them. I can work on them myself if I wanted to. Like change the oils, change the oil, change the plugs. I can do that because they're relatively easy to do.
That's cars from the day my father taught me how to drive. And in fact, that's one of the inspirations for my own car, which is a classic Mercedes 2.6 liter 190E. Yeah, so that's really from learning how to drive and spending time with my father on Father's Day. I think it's important as any woman, if a car breaks down, you must know your water levels, you must know the engine is overheating, you must know your tire pressures, you must know what kind of fuel you are having, the type of oil as well. So those things are quite important. I was able to listen to the engine, car, things like that.
Generally liked cars as a whole from when I was young. This is why we have the club. So essentially, it is Nigeria, but look at the turnout today. And we have members that didn't come today with their cars. So there's quite a following. There are quite people passionate about classic cars.
The first car I ever drove was my dad's Volvo from the 70s, a P1800 Volvo. And I'm still hoping I can buy one day, but that's the first car I ever drove. And when I say drove, the car wouldn't start one morning. We're living in Europe. The car wouldn't start. So he had me sit in it. So he and my elder brother, who had more muscles, could push. And he just showed me how to work the legs to jump start it once we had some momentum. So I always tell people that's the first car I ever drove.
Apart from the classic car owners, we met a Nigerian car designer who built his own Nigerian brand car called Twim Custom Cars Nigeria.
We started pimping cars since 1984. We were concentrating on the Santanas, the VW Santana cars. And we did a lot of those until they took the factory to China, then we had to stop. That was the last car we customized or that we launched was 30 years ago, the Twintana Z1. Well, it's not easy to own your own car brand. Our cars are based on the Volvo XC90.
The organizers emphasized the importance of the event.
We'll be seeing people coming all day. It's a family event. Kids have brought their fathers out to celebrate Father's Day with them. I have a friend who brought her dad. He's an elderly statesman at this point. She brought him out to come and enjoy this event with us.
If you look at it, classic cars are a way to keep history, especially as every car has a story.
I think you're spot on. Otherwise, none of these cars. You have people still chopping cars up and shipping them out as scrap metal, you know. But if you preserve them, you have cars from this is a 1953 Buick here. There's a Chevy from 1955, a Morris from 1964, my MG's from 1977. It's 46 years old now. So we are preserving history.
We hope classic car shows like this evolve to educational forums for families and schools. And who knows, it might just lead eventually to Nigeria's first car museum. Fumi Unajefe, reporting for Plus TV Africa.
Nigeria is a beautiful country filled with cultural resources and a preserved tradition. It is famously known as the Giant of Africa, whose cultural heritage is woven from the natural beauty in her land, threads of history, and the hospitality of her people. From rainforests in the south to savanna woodlands in the center and a semi-desert region in the north, Nigeria is adorned with long stretches of exotic beaches, lush mountains, magnificent waterfalls, and a unique wildlife, boasting of enchanting tourist attractions ready to be enjoyed. Here are some tourist destinations you should add to your bucket list. Coconut Beach. Coconut Beach is located in the coastal town of Badagry, west of Lagos State, Nigeria. No place tells the story of tourism fused with history like Badagry, which is situated about 20 miles close to the border of the Benin Republic. Coconut Beach has breathtaking and beautiful ocean views, a perfect place for relaxation, with the beach being set away from the noise of suburbia. It is surrounded by thousands of coconut trees, where it got its name from, beautiful holiday resorts, vacation huts, fresh air, and an open sky, portraying an ideal rural destination for lovers of fun and holiday makers. The Obudu Mountain Resorts. Above the sea level, on the Oshia ridge of the famous Sankwala Mountain, sits majestically the Obudu Mountain Resort. It is located in the highlands and deep tropical forests of Cross River State, with a temperate climate and just 45 miles from the border of Cameroon. The ranch boasts of numerous pleasant mountain area and countryside views, with tourist attractions like the water park, cable car, ranch cattle and horses, waterfall, and the ancient Anape village. The Obudu Mountain Resort is a mix of adventure, beautiful scenery, and idyllic tranquility. The Yankari Game Reserve. In Bauchi State is the Yankari Game Reserve and former National Park, one of West Africa's eco-destinations. It is home to several natural warm water springs and the biggest wildlife retreat. The reserve is filled with a number of activities that would help you connect with nature. Marvel at the largest herd of elephants in the country, embark on a guided safari tour, and explore the tropical forest. You'll also find beautifully constructed huts alongside some uncaged animals such as monkeys and baboons living in their natural habitat. The Yankari Game Reserve is an area of great natural beauty that provides recreational pleasure. The Ogbenike Caves. Located in a valley blanketed by tropical rainforest in Anambra State, are a collection of caves knitted with historical and spiritual significance. The Ogbonike caves are associated with living traditions said to be preserved by the people for many centuries. Descending into the valley where the caves are located is a walkway made up of about 317 steps, and visitors must remove their shoes before entering the caves based on tradition. The caves are beautifully surrounded by streams of water flowing out from one of the tunnels into River Nkisa. Seen as a trove for tourists, the Ogbonike caves make an ideal destination. The Owu Waterfalls. Described as a wonder in the wilderness is the Owu Waterfalls, located in Kwara State. Cascading from a height of about 120 meters to a pool of ice-cold water, the Owu Waterfalls is one of the highest and most fascinating waterfalls to watch in West Africa. It is a beautiful scenery which can only be appreciated when explored. Experience a fine mix of awesome attractions at the Owu Waterfalls, making it a memorable haven for your next vacation. The Osun Osogbo Grove. Situated on the outskirts of Osogbo, the capital of Osun State is the Osun Osogbo Sacred Grove, a large cultural landscape of undistributed forest dedicated to Osun, the Yoruba goddess of fertility, love, water, and beauty. The grove, which spans about 75 hectares of land, is a tourist destination that has sacred shrines, sanctuaries, sculptures, and artworks. The forest contains about 400 different species of plants that are used for medicinal purposes. Classified as one of the UNESCO World Heritage Sites, this sacred forest attracts a large number of tourists, and it is definitely worth visiting. Nigeria is a beautiful land waiting to be explored, and you are encouraged to visit and enjoy these wonderful tourist destinations.
Child protection is an ancient, long-standing problem which has gained the attention of the international, national, state, and local communities, with governments, international donor agencies on the forefront of a high-profile commission to eradicate it. The unique dynamics of child sexual abuse such that it's often committed in secrecy, with only the victim and the perpetrator as witnesses. And it's a crime that is very difficult to detect, and it takes a long time before the abusers, before the crime is revealed. And the grooming strategies of the pedophiles include: number one, engagement of the child, overcoming the child's resistance, inculcating secrecy into the child, and intimidating the child, suppressing the child to maintain control over the child. There are 5 key steps you need to know as an adult, as an educator, to be able to provide child protection to any child within your vicinity. Number one, you need to learn the facts. Child sexual abuse can be contactual or non-contactual. It can involve outright defilement. It can involve exhibitionism, touching a child inappropriately, or exposing the child to pornography. And you need to know the different ways children disclose. They can disclose to you directly if they trust you, but even in that, they may not give you the full details. Then there could be accidental disclosure in normal day-to-day conversation. Then there can be indirect disclosure. The child may pretend that it happens to another child because it's ashamed. He or she is ashamed and should be shamed and should be blamed. And then you need to reduce the opportunity for it to occur. You don't leave children alone physically or digitally. These days, the world has turned to a global village. You need to monitor their internet spaces. You need to know about digital empathy as an educator. A child may be innocently browsing to do the homework, and the pornographic site may drop in, and the child will be ashamed to seek for help, which may traumatize the child. Then you need to know children's digital footprint. You may give your child a name and get another name online, on Facebook, TikTok, on Instagram, and then you need to know how to talk about a sex education. You don't wait for a child to be grown. From age 2, you tell the children about their private parts. Call it the way it is. Tell the boy, this is your penis. Tell the girl, this is your vagina. Don't call it wee-wee bum-bum. Don't give it names, because a lot of children will be taken advantage of. And then these pedophiles, they crack risky jokes, and say my wife, they dabble into favoritism, they can be treating the child as an adult, then you need to reduce the opportunity for it to occur. You need to learn the signs. There are short-time signs like bruises, wounds, rashes in the mouth and the genital areas. You see teenage pregnancy, unwanted pregnancy. You see sexually transmitted infection. But the long-term consequences that schools of thought have adverse childhood experiences is what is affecting the nation as a whole. It's the children that have been abused that did not receive help, that are in conflict with themselves, with the society. You see suicidal addiction, you see depression, you see poor interpersonal relationship skills, poor academic performance, occupational failures, compulsive eating disorders, hormonal imbalance, infertility, you see depression, post-traumatic stress disorders. And above all, you need to know how to react responsibly. If a child confides in you don't react vehemently, you don't go and confront the perpetrator, otherwise you contaminate evidence or endanger yourself. You need to know about the Lagos State government witness protection policy. You need to instill confidence in the child. Tell the child, thank you for telling me, psychological first aid, I'm sorry this happened to you, but I need to help you. And you don't ever promise a child, I will not tell anybody. But you need to tell the child, number one, we need to get you medical attention for medical treatment and evaluation. And number two, you need psychosocial support because you are traumatized and none of any families are traumatized. And then we need to inform law enforcement, the police, because pedophiles are criminals. Their security risks, they need to be taken off the street. They do not pose dangers to other children. Access to justice is part of the healing therapy. And if both parents are not able to support the child, let the child know you need shelter services, safety plans. You need to be relocated from the offending environment to regain your sense of safety. We have the very first children's telecommunication number 0800 801, through which children can call to receive professional counseling, information, care, emergency intervention, and referral pathways. The Lagos State government is committed to ensuring child protection. We have the Quality Assurance Department of Ministry of Education. If it happens in school, we have the Ministry of Youth and Social Development, who are interested in the welfare of the children for placement in shelters and orphanages. We have the prosecutorial unit, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. We have the Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, with a formidable interagency collaboration among all the agencies. Our belief is that adults are responsible for protecting children, not children protecting themselves. Children cannot protect themselves because of their cognitive and vulnerability. And there's no way a child can give his or her consent to sex, and there should be no shaming and blaming. Parents who don't have time to listen or to take care of their children are guilty of child neglect, which is an offense, and it opens the door for pedophiles because there are no benchmarks or indices to identify a pedophile. Pedophiles' strategies include earning the trust and respect of parents. If a child is hungry, they offer food. If a child is lonely, they offer companionship. They are like the wild animals in the safari who will study the children to look for a loophole in that life of that children, fill that loophole to maintain control over the child. Some even blame the child, it's your fault. It can never be a child's fault. And a child is anyone under 18 years of age. It doesn't matter if she's already in the university or she's big or whatever. Every child needs protection. Every child is important. Not just our biological children, not just our students, even our domestic staff. They need to be protected. Defilement is life imprisonment, sexual assault by penetration. It's about 7 years. We have a range. Touching appropriately, we have 1 year, 3 years, depending on the offense that can be established. But the rock bottom is that child sexual abuse is unacceptable, and
We're glad to know you're still there. It's time now to look at the headlines on some of our national dailies. We're beginning today with the Punch newspaper. But first of all, we're happy to be joined by Mr. Tunde Kolawole, a legal practitioner who will be talking with us from Lagos here. Good morning and welcome to the program, sir.
Good morning, my brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I missed you people last Wednesday.
Sorry?
I said I missed you people last Wednesday.
Yes, you had another assignment. So
program with you.
yes, you had another assignment.
Sorry about that,
It's all right. It's all right,
Sorry
sir.
about it.
Today we are here, and let us look at the papers that are available to us. We're beginning with the Punch newspaper, which leads with the headline, States spend 1.7 trillion naira on trips, meals, others borrow 988 billion naira. The writers on that story are that states borrow 988.48 billion from banks, others in 9 months. And then governors get over 87 billion naira for security votes. Ondo denies 7.3 billion diversion. Okay, so that's the headline, the leading headline on the Punch newspaper. Your comments, please.
Yeah, honestly speaking, the present crop of leadership that we have at both the state and the federal level are behaving like the French Bourbon. They've forgotten nothing and they're not learning any new things. Anybody who looks at the parallel state of the Nigerian economy and the suffering that our people are going through presently will ordinarily be conscious of such things and trim government spending to what is manageable, what can be accommodated, and that will free some resources for alleviating the sufferings of the ordinary people. But these people are not behaving that way. Rather, they continue to live their hedonist and ostentatious life the way they've been living it when the country was said to have had their money. I was going through the social media and I saw something posted in there, an interview that was granted by Mrs. Obama on CNN. And she was talking about what used to happen when the husband was the president of the country. He said even when they order or when they ask for peanuts, the number of peanuts that they take are counted, and the bill will be sent to them as president, which will be deducted from the husband's salaries and allowances, or paid for one way or the other. But here, people get salaries, they get allowances, they get all manners of security for. Still, we have to pay for their feeding, we have to pay for their water. When they cough, when they smile, we have to pay for it. And yet we are asking the ordinary man on the street to tighten their belts. And you know the implications of what they are doing is very, very serious. Look at the huge amount of borrowing that is taking place within the banks. That can lead to the collapse of most of these banks. And when those banks collapse, it is the little savings that you and I have been making for our old age that will disappear through the collapse of those banks, like it has happened in the past. National Bank went down the drain. ACB, one of the most beautiful banks, went down the drain. Bank of the North and Wema Bank are tottering. And yet, the present crop of leadership, like I said, are not showing prudence at all in the management of the nation's resources. I hope and I pray that they will not cause uprising from the ordinary members on the street. Because what they are doing is enough to precipitate the uprising of people, such as we saw during the NSAS movement. And even the NSAS thing will just be a kind of tight play compared to what is likely to happen. You remember not too long ago, and this is not far-fetched, people looting warehouses and all that in the north and some other parts of the country during the COVID and during these so-called palliative distribution exercises. These are signs, these are signals that there is hunger in the land and that the diligent leadership would find ways and means to really cut its own expenses and free some resources for the ordinary man on the street.
Well, that just brings us to another story just below there, a smaller story, but we've seen the pictures there. Ghetto in Paradise is what is titled as Abuja pupils learn in shed, endure dumps order. We will expect that any other state could have this kind of public schools, but not Abuja. So we've seen pictures there of students learning or pupils learning under sheds and trees and all that in Abuja. What does it say about our educational system?
Yes, that is one of the paradoxes of the Nigerian nation. You will see oases of affluence, of wealth in one part, and then mass poverty and squalor on the other part. Just like you said, how could anyone have imagined that this kind of school will be existing in a place like Abuja, which roads could be said to be paved with gold? And given the amount of resources that is being pumped into Abuja, and also the educational sector in Abuja on a yearly basis, through all manners of budgetary provisions and all that. This is happening because the children of our landlords, or those who have low themselves over, don't attend these schools. They are either in private schools in Abuja or they are abroad doing their schooling. So they couldn't be bothered. But let me say this, it is not just in Abuja that we have this kind of a problem. It's been reported in the past, people where Wike comes from and where Wike said he has revolutionized the state, there are still so many schools in there without roof over the heads of the students. Where I also come from, so many pupils are learning under the trees. You can find that in all the different parts of the country. Borno State, the Boko Haram insurgents has ravaged or destroyed most of the schools. Most of those schools are not being rebuilt, just like you have in Yobe, Niger, and all these places. And the consequences of students or the children learning with this kind of hardship has far-reaching ramifications for the Nigerian society and economy. It means we will not be able to develop a Bill Gates or come out and see any of these children become a Bill Gates in future. There will be no top bankers like Elumelu from them. This care is not taken. And of course, learning under this kind of hardship will make the children cultivate thuggery, banditry, child prostitution, and unwanted pregnancies. So, for God's sake, there's no justification for this. This is a shameful thing. It's a shame on the blight on the Nigerian nation. Well, thank God, I was reading, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was saying that under him, he will ensure that no child drops out of school. I hope he's going to see this picture on the front page of the Punch today and begin to do something about it. I have always said it and I continue to say it. It is not politics that develop a nation. It's basically education. Education is the bedrock of development of any nation. And go and check your history. And when you have had education, you will require vigilant followership. Vigilant followership. We are not vigilant. The Nigerian people are not vigilant at all. Otherwise, they shouldn't have allowed this kind of thing to persist for this long. What are the parents of these children doing? Seeing their children learning under the sun and under the rain. They could protest. They could demonstrate. They could withhold so many services from the government that will draw the attention of the government to the plight of their children. So, honestly speaking, I think we should thank Punch for bringing out, for publishing this picture this morning. They say a picture speaks louder than 1,000 words or thereabout. There could be nothing more graphic than what we see on the pages of Punch this morning. It's a shame. It's a blight of the Nigerian nation. And the whole world will be looking at this morning and begin to wonder what we have done, the huge oil wealth that we have been getting since about 1959.
Okay. Well, we've been talking about diversification, and we've been seeing that it's only an economy hanging on oil that we have in Nigeria. Meanwhile, we have other sites, we'll have other mineral resources and all that, that are being mined and all. And today on The Punch, we've seen that the federal government has revoked 1,633 licenses of miners and it vows to sanitize the sector. So I was just asking the question this morning. So these things are being mined. 1,633 companies were mining things that we may not have been seeing any impact on the Nigerian economy. Is this the first step, in your opinion, to really the diversification that we've been talking about in our economy? Or this is just talk?
Good. I like the way you have ended it. Let us hope and pray that they'll be able to walk the talk. If you have given licenses to people or to companies as much as 1,633, and you are turning around to revoke that license, then you should query yourself about the procedure. How did these people get the licenses in the first instance? Most times people apply for these licenses not because they want to manage of these resources. They apply for the license with the hope that somebody somewhere will come for them, maybe from abroad, from China or India or whatever, or Pakistan, to come and buy that ordinary paper, which has been given to them for huge amount of money. And then they just take the money to the bank and then go to their homes or to their office and begin to pick their teeth without having to do anything and live a flamboyant life. The tragedy of the whole thing is that even though people are applying for licenses, what is happening in the country today is artisanal mining. Is all these ordinary people who pick waste all over the place, and then the little, people in the villages and what have you, that are really doing some of this artisanal mining and all that. The sector is not organized. There is chaos in there, and it is going to be difficult to really organize that sector. Why do I say this? The international community has begun to take interest in the mineral resources in Nigeria, like lithium and some of these other expensive minerals that are used in the auto industry, IT industry, artificial intelligence, and all that. And with that, what this international company will have simply, or they are led to be doing is that they could have, or they may have, formed their own private armies, equip those private armies with weapons and all that, and then deploy them to most of these mining sites to provide protection for the people who are doing this illegal mining. We have seen this in the Niger Delta with regard to oil, which will not be surprised that it is also happening in the northern part of the country, where we have some of these mineral resources that are being illegally mined. Gold is being mined in Zamfara State, in Jigawa, and Niger State for over a long period of time to them. But the federal government and the state government are not any revenue in terms of taxes and royalty from those mining. And then yet you have leaders and local government chairmen, you have governors, you have legislators, you have the police, you have the army, and all complement of security forces in all those places where these illegal mining are taking place. It's what I mean. These minings are taking place simply because of vested interest, because of corruption. Our allies are not interested in ensuring that that sector is properly organized. Because if it is properly organized, the kind of money that they are making today, they wouldn't be mining it. If you also look at the front page of that paper, you will see the MD of NNPC Limited saying that 5,000 kilometers of pipeline between Benin and Port Harcourt that they have not been using for the past 5 years. That is the oil pipeline, the line that should be pumping crude oil to the ships on the coast in Port Harcourt. And for the past 5 years, they have not been using it. And that even as much as 5,000 kilometers of those pipelines have not been used in the last 5 years. In spite of all this, you have full complement of security forces in those places. We have also hired individuals to provide protection for those pipelines. Yet all these things are still happening. And billions are paid to those private security companies to protect those pipelines. So it is a Nigerian factor. You will need a leadership, you will need the people, you will need a president, you will need governors who are selfless, who think more about the people and not themselves, and who are ready to step on the toes of those who are behind all these things. But again, stepping on the toes of those behind it comes with its own caveat. And what is the caveat? The caveat is that most sections of the country, most tribes in Nigeria, most regions in Nigeria have no commitment to the Nigerian nation. I mean, when you don't have a commitment to the Nigerian nation, it's difficult for you to begin to contribute into the common purse, into the central basket. So everybody just wants to take as much as they can take from in their own corners of the Nigerian nation, and then they use it to better their own lot, rather than looking at the nation as a basket towards whom all of us should contribute and make better for everybody, no matter what tribe, religion you might be. It's a very complex issue. How Mr. Dele Alake is going to wade through and be able to sanitize that sanitize that sector. If we have been unable to sanitize the health sector since 1959, I don't know how he's going to be able to do it in the 4 years that he has had to spend. That this government will have to spend in power at the federal level.
Okay, we just wish him well. That's all I can say for now, because the cabal in that sector must be very strong by now.
They are.
Yeah, now...
with international affiliation.
Yes. So let's take some headlines from Daily Independent. We've run out of time, but these ones are very... a lot of them are repeated. The ones that we've talked about are repeated in other dailies. But this one... Military ask federal government to tackle Finland over southeast insecurity. You remember that the military are now saying that their efforts are being thwarted by the propaganda and whatever the activities of Simon Ekpa, who is in Finland. And this morning, I was just trying to ask myself, why is it so difficult for someone to stay, to be removed and prosecuted from another country? And because what the activities he's doing, how much different are there from what is called terrorism and terrorism enabling? Is he not enabling terrorism in the southeast where people are being killed indiscriminately? Even the southeasterners themselves are the bulk of the victims of this agitation, so-called agitation for Biafra. Why is it so difficult that Simon Ekpa will pose such a problem to the people and Finland is keeping him and Nigeria seems not to be doing anything about it? What kind of bottlenecks are there that Nigeria is facing?
Well, you are thinking like a Nigerian. The other part of the world don't think like that. Your own terrorist is their own human rights fighter, is their own independence or somebody fighting for their people's independence and liberation. When Mandela and his colleagues were waging war against apartheid, the apartheid regime didn't execute them. When they got some of them, they put them in prison. And then the other African countries, including Nigeria, allowed some of those people who were fighting for independence in South Africa to come and live here in Nigeria. Carbon Becky was here at one time. Some of them also schooled with a given scholarship to come and school in here. So you are looking at Simon Ekpa as a terrorist. But the people, the Finland people, and then the European people are probably seeing him as a freedom fighter. The second approach I want to give it is that whatever we are getting from the Southeast is Nigeria's, we are responsible. We shouldn't be blaming the victim for what is happening in that area. My take is that if Nigeria would behave like civilized people, if the government in Nigeria would behave like civilized people, we should organize a referendum in the Southeast as regards whether they want to leave or they want to continue to stay in Nigeria. And then Simon Ekpa and all the rest of them will campaign to secede from Nigeria. And then the federal government will also roll out his own drum and campaign for the people in the Southeast to stay in Nigeria. Whoever wins in that referendum, so be it. We've been in this for how long? How many years since 1967? There has been unrest in that part of the world. And we think we can continue forever to sweep this matter under the carpet. The best solution to this problem is for us to organize a referendum in the Southeast. And whoever wins the referendum and all that, so be it. I've always told my friend from the Southeast and all that it is better to stay within Nigeria because the platform which Nigeria offers all of us, a tiny Biafra will not be able to guarantee that. When you look at all the big countries, all the countries in the world that are making part of it, they are the ones with very huge population and very huge landmass. China, USA, India, Pakistan. You don't hear of things like Barbados or Finland or Togo or Benin Republic. So, but let's behave like civilized people. Organize a referendum in the Southeast, and whoever wins should go away with it. And then again, let's also tell the people in government, especially the military, each time they say they have killed total number of people in the Southeast, for God's sake, it is the Nigerian children you are killing. It is not. It is wrong, totally wrong, for us to start dropping bombs and then killing people indiscriminately in the Southeast because of this agitation. Let's behave like civilized people, organize a referendum in there, struggle for independence and liberation. It's a universal right. Nobody can be compelled to be part of a situation or a system or a country that they don't want to be. Sooner than later, something will give way. Just as it is giving way now between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Just as it is giving way in so many other parts of the world. Even in a country like Spain, a country like Spain, a very old democracy, the Catalonians are still agitating that they want to leave. In England or Europe, the Sinn Féin and all the rest of them, Northern Ireland and whatever, some are still saying that they want to secede from those places. So, what are we talking about? Please let us be like civilized people. Referendum in the Southeast today, and people, the invisible killing of our children in the Southeast should stop forthwith. It is not, it's totally wrong.
Okay, final headline here before we wrap it up here, briefly. Upload of results by INEC will be made compulsory. That's according to the Senate. So they have said this, they are going to compel the INEC to be doing this, possibly by changing the Electoral Act. So what is your comment?
Well, my comment is simply that it is just now that the Senate is waking up to the reality that we need to incorporate all these IRF and technology into the election processes and all that. Let's hope they will be able to do it, but I doubt whether they'll be able to do it, because if the election system runs very smoothly and we incorporate technology into the electoral process and all that, most of the people you find in the Senate, in the House of Reps, in the House of Assembly, in some of these other places will never be there. They'll be taken out of business. They are in those places today because they profit from the deplorable situation that we have with regard to election in Nigeria today. And I also want to say, with due regard to our courts are not helping matters. I have always said it that you don't need to codify all laws before they become applicable. Some things are done by convention, some by precedent, and some by merely looking at what is good for the larger society. You know, if the people in the Supreme Court, the people in the Court of Appeal, the people in the High Court or the Election Petition Tribunal, all of them use handsets, they use laptops, they use internet and all that, and they've been benefiting from it. So if there is a kind of regulation that says we should use technology or IRF in the election processes, why would our courts be ruling against such things? They think that we enhance the credibility of the election, and yet our court will say no, since it is not set in black and white, then the INEC doesn't have to do it. For God's sake, we are not helping matters at all. And then it's only in Nigeria, more than any other part of the world, that it is the court that determines who wins election. The courts and the lawyers and the judges and others should please help the Nigerian society. They should help this system. They should preserve this democracy by ensuring that whatever is going to enhance the credibility of the election, whether it is in our law or it's not in there, they should rule in favor of such things.
And no longer only on technicalities, which
Exactly.
Technicalities sound like Babalawo that will give you a charm and tell you things not to do because you know that you must fail. Okay, well, thank you so much, Mr. Kolawole, for coming on the show this morning.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. Have a lovely day.
You too. We've been talking with Mr. Tunde Kolawole, a legal practitioner. He was talking to us from Lagos here. We'll take a short break and we'll be joined by one of our first guests for the hot topic. We'll be looking at the role of political parties in governance. Stay with us.
Picture this. You're sitting at a table, ready to indulge in a mouth-watering meal. Stop. For many of us, it is hard to resist the temptation, especially when it comes to enjoying a juicy beef dish. But have you ever stopped to think about the impact of your food choices on the greater good? Our food choices have a great impact on others. The beef industry is one of the leading contributors to deforestation. As trees are cleared to make way for cattle ranching, it not only disrupts the delicate balance of ecosystems, but also contributes to climate change. We can make a difference with our choices. It does not mean we all have to become vegans overnight. Imagine enjoying fish and poultry a few times a week, indulging in beef just once a month, and filling our plates with plenty of plant-based goodness. Every little bit counts, and even small reductions in our intake can make a huge impact on the climate. By making smarter food choices, we're not only taking care of ourselves, but also the planet we call home. Remember, the choices we make today lead to a better tomorrow.
Welcome to this edition of Timeless Conversations. We welcome Remy Ogunpito. He's the founder and managing director of IBST Limited.
For quite a period of time, almost like a year, I didn't know what to do. I think that we don't invest enough in our people.
You said your dad was a politician.
Yes.
Are you a politician?
No way.
Timeless Conversation, showing on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. on PlusTvAfrica.
My name is Olamide Onifade. I am a real estate lawyer, and today I'm going to be giving you a tip about buying a property, and it's going to be centered on location, location, location. Buying a property is a massive commitment, and it's important that you consider some key factors to ensure you are getting your money's worth. Fundamental on your checklist should be the location of your property. It is the biggest influence on your quality of life, job opportunities, ease of travel, and the value of your property. While a good location might be influenced by your personal preferences and lifestyle, there are some objective qualities every good location should possess. First on the list should be accessibility when considering a good location. That is, how close is the property to good transport facilities, your daily commute to work, and your children's school if you have children who are of school age. Second on the list is the availability of local amenities. These include a good local hospital, shops, grocery stores, electricity, and maybe internet services. And third should be the appearance of your neighborhood. You should watch out for the environmental conditions of the neighborhood. Sanitation and maintenance culture of the inhabitants is also very important. This will give you an insight to who your neighbors are going to be. It is important that the crime rate of the neighborhood is also thoroughly researched. Qualities of a bad location can be when there are too many houses on sale, closeness to busy highways, airports, and train tracks. It is also advisable that you avoid locations that lean towards industrial use, such as petrol stations, religious houses, and industrial plants. Remember that you can change your house, but you can't change your neighborhood.
Welcome back. Now we're talking about the role of political parties in governance. That's our first hot topic, and we're being joined by architect Ezekiel Nyaitok, a public affairs analyst. Good morning and welcome to the program, sir.
And thanks for having me.
Yeah, I was wondering if our Kwai-Bomb network today has failed.
Enemies of progress, they will not succeed.
Okay. So, well, it just came to our head, you know, when we're looking at headlines, every administration keeps complaining about, you know, inheriting an empty purse, inheriting economic woes from the previous government, and it is up to our neck. This present administration is also complaining of having inherited something that is unspeakable from the previous administration. And then we were asking ourselves, if the previous administration is your party, how is it that you're coming now and just finding out some things now and just still blaming the other people like you were not part of it? So what really, beyond organizing political campaigns and then going into elections, is really the role of political parties when it comes to real governance? What role are they playing or should they play?
Okay, for this discussion to be beneficial and effectual, we need to give certain very, very clear foundations and fundamentals. Exactly what is government? Exactly what is political party? Exactly what is the role of elected leaders? Exactly what is the role of the citizen, talking about office of the citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, up, and we have failed to take personal responsibility, and as a result, we seem to be going in all directions and effectively no direction. Why am I saying this? Unless we answer the question of the essence of election, which creates political parties, and what parties are, so that the citizens get to understand, they'll realize that we are assembling an orchestra without understanding the roles of each person. Or to be easier, we are assembling a football team without asking certain questions. Number one, who is the coach? Number two, on the field, who is the, first, the goalkeeper? After the goalkeeper, where is the, the defense? After the defense, where is the midfield? Before we now say, where are the strikers to score goals? We must have a clarity on what government and governance is all about. If not so, we will continue to ask these questions 20, 50 years from now. What is the role of the political parties? How can an elected person blame the previous administration? What was campaign? What are you supposed to do at campaign? Are you making promises when you don't know how much money you have in your pocket? The election umpire, how have you trained your people? How have you, made sure that your people, did you give them a roadmap in the first instance? When you registered political parties, INEC, what was your understanding? What did they present to you? How are you making sure that they follow a certain route? So the number one problem that we have is the citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The second problem that we have is a man called INEC, a body called INEC, that we vested with the responsibility of making sure that we choose the people to lead us. When you start with those two, then so long as the citizens have not made sure that we have an INEC that knows its responsibilities, that INEC will continue to go around in circles and give us people that will not satisfy our essence. I think that as we go on, we will be able to take certain specifics. So when you ask what is the role of political parties in governance, you must ask yourself, what are political parties? Who registered them? If you register people as a football club, do they have footballers in the team? Who registered the football club? What were the templates that were put before defining the game that we are going to play and making sure that they understand the rules of the game so that when they come in, they will be playing by the rules? It's a very, very complex and complicated structure that we must address foundationally, without which we will not make progress.
Well, but I understand, because growing up, I didn't think, maybe I didn't understand at that time, but I didn't think that it was whoever was leading or was occupying the highest political position in any capacity that was the leader of that political party in that area. Because, okay, you have councillors. Now, councillors are the leaders of the political parties in their council wards, chairmen, the same thing in their local government, governors, the same thing in their states, and the president equally. The president talks or dictates to the political party. It was not like this, at least in my understanding. I don't know if I got it wrong. No, was it this way?
No, you didn't get it wrong at all. INEC, I have a very, You see, I was one of the greatest cheerleaders of the INEC and the chairman, but of recent, they have become my number one problem in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I said that much, I have participated in politics at all levels. As a senior faithful member of a party, I was effectively go to set up the structure of that party in that state. So whatever you do helps to set up the structure of the whole party in that state. I have played at that highest role as a party member in the PDP. I now moved on to co-found a party, the Young Democratic Party, that effectively translated as it were into YPP. That's why they call me the father of YDP and then the grandfather of YPP. I've become the pioneer national chairman of a party that effectively brought the youth into governance in Nigeria. That's the second role as an administrator. I've played the third role as a contestant, where even in the last dispensation, I was a governorship candidate. And then, so that puts me in a pole position to have an idea of what governance is all about. How can you, as a governor, have your commissioner as the political leader of his local government? You have no idea of what governance is all about. How can you, as a president, have your minister as your political leader in his state? You have no understanding, you have no clue as to what government is all about. Your cabinet is your strong room. It is supposed to be that hollow chamber of the brightest and the best in their areas, where they cannot be distracted by anything. They are into governance. You have your party that takes care of your political structure. And then you have the government, which has to do with governance and cannot meddle itself. How can you, as a president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, want to be the leader of your party? Or you, as a governor, want to be the leader of your... Do you know the roles that you have to play as a president, as a governor? Will you have enough time to play that role? The role of the leader of a political party is so important. It's so serious that no one man can handle the role of the president and role of the political leader, or the role of a governor and the role of a political leader. Now come back to the foundations, the basics. We really don't have political parties. We don't. And I can say that as an informed person. I'll give you a little story, background that will make you understand where I'm coming from. When I was made the national chairman of Young Democratic Party, there were 30 registered parties in Nigeria. Unfortunately, PDP, and we have this IPAC, where it's a body of chairmen of political parties, inter-party advisory council, and as a chairman, you become a member. So the 30 of us were the 30 members of IPAC then, but PDP had issues. So PDP was not in the meeting. We were 29. We were to elect the new exco of IPAC. And I was attending the meeting for the very first time. But I was so burdened about this issue of party that I decided to put in for the position of the vice chairman of IPAC. And people laughed me to scorn. It's like, young man, what are you talking about? Sorry, not young man, not that young. No, what are you talking about? You are just coming here for the first time, first meeting. Then you want to be the number 2 person. How? Jokingly, one of them told me, you're going to have 2 votes. One vote is going to be yours, and the second vote is going to be that of your friend. Then there was Fresh Party by Reverend Okotie, and everybody knows my relationship with Reverend Okotie. So they said, you're going to have your vote and that of Fresh. And those are the only 2 votes you're going to have. Long and short, I did not win, but guess what? I lost by 1 vote, and guess the vote? The vote of Fresh Party. The person that was sent
the very one that was supposed to make you win, or
yes,
the next vote that you were supposed to
and
get.
Guess, it was so dramatic that when the person voted, rather than the vote fall down, it actually stood straight and faced the public. I mean, it was like impossible, but it actually stood straight without falling and faced the public. So I started shouting. I don't want to call the person's name. He didn't vote for me. So as far as I was concerned, I was just going to get 1 vote. But guess what? I had 14 votes, while the other person had 15. Meaning that if that person had voted for me, I would have had 15. But what made the difference? What made people listening to me for the very first time to go out of their way, jettisoning the alliances that they had, and voted so much that I had 14 out of 29 votes, and the person that won had 15. In fact, I was hailed and carried as if I was the winner. What did I say? They made a mistake of saying that the chairmanship position and the vice chairmanship position, that the people should address, that the candidates should address the people. And when it was my turn, I made a certain fundamental statement. And until Nigeria comes to understand that statement, we may not make progress. What did I say? I said, every party is government, either in waiting or in action. Every political party is government, either in waiting or in action. If APC, when PDP was in control, was government, they would have understood, had their shadow cabinet, had their shadow government, look at policies, look at issues, given their alternatives, worked with the way of this is my housing ministry, this is my foreign policy or external affairs ministry, this is my agriculture ministry, this is my different, so that they have policies. And policies are never in isolation. Policies are based on current goings on, such that when a party in government makes a mistake, they will give an alternative, a solution. So opposition is not pulling the system down, because you know that you can get in and you don't want to get in and inherit nothing. Do you understand me? You want to, at election, let people see that you had better, viable, solutions to problems. That is when campaigning becomes based on issues. But today, my brother, what have you heard about any party since the last election? Nothing. They are not there. They are not. Party is strictly a vehicle, an SPV for capturing power. That is why during election, if you belong to the smaller parties, you are a problem to your party if you want to contest election. I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about. Your party do not expect you to stand for election in the smaller parties. They expect them to work it so much that towards the end, you go and endorse those that will win, and then you collect, whatever they bring and you share. So it is not about, having any ideology. It's not about having any purpose. Parties don't have those. And who do you blame for that? One body, INEC. Because the responsibility of INEC is to sit on the necks of parties to make sure that they understand their essence and they play their essence. As a matter of fact, INEC ought to be calling each party and asking them for their positions on the current goings-on, either in their state or at the national level. And this is not existing.
Okay, well, I think this discussion will not end today, because our time for today has ended, but we should continue that, because now that the National Assembly is talking about reforms, maybe in the electoral law, maybe some of these things should be included inside them, so that we know for sure what a party should do and all that. Sometimes, maybe if they put it in the hands of the party to recall their members who are not performing well, they will sit up. Maybe that will work for us. But we'd like to thank you for coming on the show this morning, sir. And we hope to see you tomorrow for the paper review.
Definitely, by God's grace. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. We've been talking with architect Ezekiel Nyaitok, a public affairs analyst. We were talking about the role of the political parties in governance. Quickly, we'll take a break and return to talk about the Rivers get an update on the Rivers State political situation. Stay with us.
It is not the hope of this feature to blame anyone for the never-ending tension between police and the citizens. However, it is certain that there is always a tension with most people when they approach a police checkpoint. Many factors are responsible for this tension, including not knowing what to expect or do, seeing the police as the enemy, or even being guilty of an infraction. Many issues that go wrong at a police checkpoint can be linked to lack of proper communication and understanding on the side of the police force and also on the side of the citizen. Here are some tips listed by the police force about comporting. Turn down the volume of your car stereo. Courtesy demands this. Besides, you are able to hear each other.
Welcome back. Right now, we're going to have a peek into what is happening in Rivers State. The political climate seems to still be very volatile, and we're being joined by former CPS2, the Deputy Governor of Rivers State, and also the publisher, CEO of Krishna Reports. Good morning and welcome, Mr. Godswill Jumbo.
Yes, good morning.
Okay.
My pleasure being here.
All right. Now, we've heard reports about policemen occupying some places, belonging to one or the other. We've heard rumors also, or news rather, also of two plenaries holding at the same time, people loyal to the governor and others loyal to the Federal Capital Territory Minister, that is Nyesom Wike. And we thought that after the apology, after it is a father-son fight and all that, there will be no problem anymore. Bring us up to speed. What really is going on in Rivers State?
Okay. Early morning yesterday, we saw policemen barricade the House of Assembly complex, and we learned that the Martins are no way led faction of the House of Assembly were sitting. And then later we saw two factions of the same House of Assembly sitting. And previously, the police was providing cover for one of the factions, And incidentally, this particular faction, the speaker has purportedly been impeached. And then there's also a restraining order on that faction not to go ahead with the attempt to impeach the governor. And we saw that happen. And then later yesterday, we saw an originating summons with an order from the Federal High Court by Honorable Justice Ayua, putting an injunction that both parties should suspend sitting So until the issue raised in the regime meeting summons, have been taken care of, have been addressed. So in a way, that's where we are now. We also know that at the back end, a lot is going on, on both sides, to push the different agendas. But I think for Rivers people, they are in a way pleased with the community. We think the governor is going about, what he's doing by focusing on governance. We've not seen him after that incident of October 31st. We've not seen him like, the only other thing he has said was that it was a father-son issue and it will be sorted out, but we've not seen him distract, deviate from the issues of governance. That's at least what has happened. So that's where we are now. Some people have also drawn the attention of the police high command that the police is supposed to be an independent, neutral party in this circumstance. So providing security cover for one faction of the House of Assembly, that's like jumping into the arena. And I think the IG, Dr. Gotokun, needs to look at that. The place was damaged. There was a fire incident there, and the governor, is looking at fixing the place. So why would the police that are supposed to provide security for the state in general even allow anybody at all to go sit there without the authorization of the chief security officer of the state? These are some of the issues that are, coming up with the developments. So this is where we are in Rivers State as of now.
But what is the leadership of the Rivers State PDP and the national body saying about what is happening, really?
Okay, we've not heard any comments from the national leadership of the PDP or the APC. Apart from the intervention of Mr. President back then, we've not heard anything else so far. The only other person who has spoken is the FCT minister, who has said if he wants, he will show the governor pepper, he will suffer even if he does not win. And these are rhetorics that shouldn't be coming from somebody like him. There is a general expectation in Rivers State that, having by virtue of the fact that he sat on that seat as governor of Rivers State for 8 years, he is now in the class of statesmen of Rivers State. So everybody expects that fatherly posture, that statesmanly posture, that elder statesmanly posture. That's what everybody expects Wike, Wike at this point, to exude. He's not supposed to jump into the arena. The children fighting, the boys fighting, all his boys. He made them House of Assembly members. He worked to bring them up as governor, as speaker, as whatever. So at this point, everybody should expect that. Everybody is expecting that he will call both sides to order. Young men get back to work, leave all this drama, but we don't see that happening. So maybe I can use this opportunity to speak to him directly, that he should rise to the occasion. He is, as it is now, an elder statement in Rivers State. As a former governor of the state, he should be able to douse the tension. The governor has shown the equanimity. The governor has shown focus. The governor has shown maturity. He has refused to be dragged in any direction at all. He has focused on governance. And I can tell you that Rivers State needs the peace, the stability, that not agriculture, not anything, just political rhetoric. You're fighting this, you're not loyal to that. And, young people were being made to wear t-shirts and face cap for 8 years. And the governor is trying to jumpstart the economy of the state. I think anybody who loves Rivers State, starting from Wike himself, who says it's Rivers first. The Rivers interest is primary in his, categorization of interest. Everybody should focus on supporting the governor to jumpstart the economy of the states. Where are the jobs? Even those who are working for several years, some of them were not paid, pensions were not paid. There were no economic stimulants. The state needs to get back. Look at the supposed mate of Rivers State, Lagos State. Look at what Lagos State is becoming. And it's Rivers State. And we're still having this issue, PDP, APC, PDP against itself, PDP against APC, and, so these are the things. So, and it's good we also raise this issue. The national leadership of the party, the PDP, and even the APC that Wike is having breakfast with, should rise to the occasion, should call everybody to order. For this needs a political solution. All stakeholders, in whatever capacity, should be able to say, no, get this off the table. Let's get back to governance. Elections are over, politicking is over, and all of that. Let's get back to, the track of, implementing governance, implementing the dividends of democracy. People need jobs. People need stimulants to be able to, fix back their businesses. And Rivers people are actually enterprising, Look at him going to Songhai Farm to look at the possibility of, restarting the Songhai Farm. Songhai Farm was taking almost 50,000 workers. And imagine what that does to the economy of the state. There was a banana farm at a Thai local government that was doing 10,000 workers. Look at that. What about the Che farm? What about the shoe factory at Bori? These are things that were put in there by the previous government that Wike inherited. What did he do to sustain them? And for the governor to think of restarting this and several other things that needs to be done. Look at the heavy potentials, the economic potentials, investment opportunities that Rivers State, possesses. What is being done to reactivate them? So do we have the time in Rivers State to begin to do a cat fight, a fowl fight, that kind of fight that cocks in the village do in the morning? 2-3 cocks will come out in the morning and start fighting, trying to assert supremacy on that particular day. Then the next morning they will start afresh again. We don't need that in Rivers State. We don't need that in Rivers State. Everybody, every stakeholder should be able to call all parties to order. And for, the Ehie Edison come, I think Ehie Edison is being intentional because his own side of the state, the Orashi region, is bereft of development, bereft of the impact of governance. For how many years? Criminals have been parading there, kidnapping, burning cars, killing people and all of that. So you can understand his intentionality in trying to, act in the interest of the state to calm the situation down. And I think that his brother and colleague, Martin Salmewule, should be able to also draw from that. What has Ikwere gained in terms of critical developments, in terms of strategic development? The all of Ikwere, Emoha, Ikwere, Port Harcourt, Udiapo, where you have the Ikwere people, what have they gained in terms of development? Apart from flyovers that on top of the flyover, traffic is free. Under the flyover, traffic builds up. Apart from that, what else? So I think that both camps of the House of Assembly is time, to drop the fight, sheath their sword, and get back to supporting the governor and drive mainstream governance in Rivers State. That is what the state needs now. And for me, it's discomforting that the leadership of the PDP, the leadership of the APC, the federal government, they're not taking a definite stand on this. And for the Commissioner of Police in Rivers State, he just arrived, and 2-3 days after he arrived, his men are going to provide cover for a faction of the House of Assembly. What are they up to? Is that the agenda why he came to Rivers State? Everybody should work for the good of Rivers State. If the economy of Rivers State is jump-started, even the police will benefit. even the police will benefit. So these are the things that we need to put out there for people to focus. Nobody benefits from political crisis. Nobody. It has never happened and it will never happen. And then I also need to put it on record that no governor of Rivers State has been impeached, and it doesn't appear that Sim Fubara will be the first. Wike had all the, apparatus of the federal government, federal level, and Amechi, having been the DG of the APC and Buhari campaign, was he able to unseat Wike as governor of the state? It has never happened, and it's not going to happen. And any attempt to make it happen will put crisis on the streets of Rivers State. And the streets of Rivers State are not friendly at all. We know what Rivers State went through in 2015. And this is not what should repeat. This is not what should repeat. Well, Rivers State is, in the same status with Kano, with Lagos, with other economic hubs of Nigeria. In fact, it is the oil and gas capital of Nigeria. Is that where we should be stoking crisis? So these are the posers we need to look at.
I do not know how the APC is going to wade into the matter, because your spoil might be their gain. So I don't know, they may be praying that it should continue. But this just gives
yes, actually,
a picture. It gives a picture that possibly the PDP house in Rivers State is divided against itself. Because even if the national body of the PDP doesn't come to the aid of Rivers people, the local leadership of PDP should have waded into the matter enough to make sure that this problem is brought to the ground. We were just talking before you came on board about the role of political parties in governance itself. And this would have been a very defining moment for the people or the leadership of PDP in Rivers State. Are you telling us, or can you confirm or deny, that the Rivers PDP leadership is divided, just like the House of Assembly is divided and the governor and the minister are fighting now? So are they divided, or are they still one?
Well, we can say yes, and we can also say no. In the sense that it is Rivers people that populate PDP. And I think I said it the last time you invited me here, that Rivers State has always been PDP. Every experimentation with any other party has not worked. It has not worked. They tried different parties, it didn't work. Even under the Amechi administration, that Amechi railroaded everybody, all of us that were serving in that government, railroaded us into APC. As of now, where are the APC people? All the stakeholders, where are they? They are back to PDP. So Rivers State is PDP, just like Lagos is APC. There are states that you just know where the political alignment is. It's just there, latent, how will I put it, consolidated. You can try any other thing, but it won't deviate from that. Imagine Lagos State all of a sudden under PDP.
Well, but we saw that kind of a thing happen in Cross River State. Cross River was always a PDP state until Ben Ayade came and, like you said, railroaded everybody into APC, and it has continued in that trajectory. They are now APC. So couldn't it happen in Rivers?
Okay, Ben Ayade did that while he was on seats, not after he has left. Ben Ayade did that while he was still governor of Cross River State, not after he has left. So you cannot be on the seat, and River State is PDP. Then now you are out of the seat, and you want to use your stooge to move River State to APC. Well, at the center of all of this, that is what is there. Because the APC is insisting that the FCT minister should move. He should. He has benefited from the party, so he should cross over. But being the kind of person he is, we know him, he wants that clout, he wants that, demonstration of capacity. So he doesn't just to walk singly, only him, and maybe with a few, lackeys. to the APC. He wants to come with the government, wants to come with the executive, the House of Assembly, everybody, and the senators, House of Rep members. You heard him saying the other day that he bought election forms for everybody, in Rivers State. So that's the crux of the matter. But the thing is, like I'm saying, that we can say PDP is divided because it's not everybody that wants to pander to that. Some people disagree with that, but they also are not. Rivers people are not flippant. That I don't like something, then I come out and start talking about it. So that's why we're having, a latent dissent. Like, people don't agree with what you are telling them, but they are not speaking up. They just want events to just play out, and you find out that they don't agree with you. So that is where PDP in Rivers State is. The majority of the members of the party are not agreeing to moving to the APC. APC has not been beneficial to Rivers State. With all that Amechi put in for APC, Rivers State suffered, if not the most, under the APC government. There is no footprint, no developmental footprint by the APC anywhere in Rivers State. They just did little cosmetic. When you talk, they will talk about the Bonibodo Road. The Bonibodo Road is being done by the NLNG. It is not an APC thing. It is a company trying to fix up, structures to, mainstream, to optimize its business prospects. It is not an APC thing. So there is nowhere in Rivers State you will say, okay, look at what APC did, look at what APC did. The NDDC is not here. In my community in Boni, that from Boni, a lot of companies, Shell, Mobile, NLNG, Teleman Oil, Total, all of them are making so much money and contributing their 3% to the NDDC. Boni has no footprint of the NDDC. They talked about doing a deep sea port. It is not there. They just came, did some inspection, checked one or two things and left. Nothing. So Rivers people will not be drawn willy-nilly, bundled together like you put fish in a basket and carry them to the APC. So they're not flowing. They're not coming along. That's why the FCT minister, I think, believes that because the governor is his boy, if the governor gives his word that this is where we're going, everybody will follow because that is where the bread is coming from. But that's not happening. Even the governor himself, is he comfortable going to the APC? Where will benefit him the most, APC or PDP? So it is not happening. That is why there is this friction, and the friction will continue, and at the end of the day, amounts to nothing. This is Rivers State. Rivers State is not just any state where you just pack people.
Okay.
Imagine with the developmental profile of Amechi, with the political clout of Amechi, with the street credibility of Amechi, he could not sustain Rivers people in APC.
Okay.
So,
well, let me
just compare the
Our time is up, but if you can confirm or deny, just a yes or no answer if it is possible. A lot of talk has gone round that Amechi is trying to return to the PDP. Can you confirm this?
Okay, I think you asked me this same question last time. And as at then, we are still watching. But I can say for sure that with what is going on, it is very clear that if not by his own intentions, a lot of stakeholders across the Niger Delta want him back in the PDP to provide the leadership the PDP needs to be able to move at the speed it should move. PDP is the only party that has benefited Rivers State and across the Niger Delta. Check Bayelsa, check Delta, check Edo, check other states. PDP is the party that has, done this thing. I'm a journalist. I watch from the spectator stand. I'm not politically biased, but I'm just telling you from observation. This is where it is. So they are dragging Amechi down. Amechi actually is is more interested in leaving the political scene. Okay. Let the players and actors do their thing. But the influence is heavy on him to come back and provide the kind of leadership that PDP needs. So that's where we are. Okay. And that is also at the undercurrent,
the heart of the matter,
behind the crisis in Rivers State.
I see. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Jumbo, for coming on the show this morning and giving us insight into what is happening in Rivers State.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Okay. We've been talking with Mr. Godswill Jumbo, former Rivers CPS to Deputy Governor. He's also the publisher and CEO of Christina Reports. And this is where we wrap it up on the show this morning. Until we meet again tomorrow for another edition of the show. My name is Nyamgul Agaji on behalf of the team saying thank you for being there. Up next is the news at 9. Stay with us.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Abraham, Moses, Jacob, you are one family.
There's no doing all this sport in Nigeria.
See how your body just dripping diamond.
I don't have one yet because I'm yet to be rich. So when I'm rich now, I will have one. But like this, I can just go. I do freestyle, go to wherever I like. But for now, I don't have any favorite. Now my own mind, I tell you, I know the life for you. It's not like you're on TV. I'm trying to form. I'm just studying my mind. So I don't have any favorite destination for now.
In Nigeria, there are a couple of places in Abuja, a couple of amusement parks in Abuja. I usually, Wonderland, a couple of nice spots.
Since I stay in Lagos, so my first destination is like Landmark Beach. This is one of the most favorite of mine. And then this landmark destinations, landmark park. I mean, it's pretty good. It's unique, It's well designed, and I think it's quite well known in international for international occasions. And I think many people will know it later on. Yes.
Landmark is cool. I like Landmark. Everybody loves the sun, like beach sun and everything. The surroundings is very alright.
And the girls.
No, I don't know about the girls. I'm not a girls guy.
So what do you like, guys?
No, I like girls, but I'm not like. No, I don't do everybody that much.
Yeah, Lekki Conventional Center. It's chilled now. I like their overhead ropes. Yeah, that's why. It's fun.
Obodo Katuran.
And why is that?
I've seen pictures and I've.
Good morning. My name is Nyamgul Agaji. This is the news brief. Former President Muhammadu Buhari has revealed why he approved the Naira redesign policy. In his first interview since leaving office, Buhari explained that he endorsed the controversial Naira redesign policy to protect his integrity and emphasized that there are no shortcuts to success. Buhari stated that he is unfazed by the criticisms about his administration as he revealed that he tried his best.
Nigerians, I don't know. I still feel that the only way I could impress and tried so hard to do it in Nigeria is just to make sure that my integrity become unquestionable. make Nigerians believe that there is no shortcut to successful leadership, in the sense that service, it's not easy, as I said, losing, say, 3 election attempts to president and ending up in the high Supreme Court 3 times. How many people, a lot of Nigerians would say that is very stupid. They would rather have the quickest and fastest way of getting there. And the only way we can do it is to try to accumulate some money, to have a lot of money, and see how we can compromise so many people and maybe institutions.
The ex-president confessed that it was not easy to govern Nigeria.
I still feel that enjoy yourself like the rest of developing countries. You can't experience. Leading Nigeria is extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult. People know they're right. They think that they should be there, not you. At virtually every step. And we have to struggle day and night, you know, to see that you are competent enough. I don't think I ever took Nigerians for granted, because Nigerians seem to be impressed more by materialistic success rather than being honored or praised by the less privileged. We are a fantastic nation.
Barely 40 days to the end of the year, the federal government has urged the Supreme Court to grant an extension of time for old Naira notes to remain in circulation. The government wants the Apex Court to lift its March 3 order that old Naira notes should remain legal tender along with new notes till December 31. It added that an extension of time is necessary because, due to the economic crisis, it has not been able to print the volume of new notes that would enable it phase out old currency before December 31. The federal government further explained that should Supreme Court decline its request to extend the period of circulation of old notes, the country stands the risk of descending into another national economic and financial crisis as witnessed in the first quarter of the year, when the Naira redesign policy was being implemented under the former Central Bank of Nigeria CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu, on the sidelines of the G20 Compact with Africa Economic Conference on Monday, met with German Federal Chancellor Olaf Scholz, where he noted that Nigeria is determined to pursue German investment in targeted sectors of the Nigerian economy. The president expressed his keen interest in the role Siemens can play in modernizing and expanding Nigeria's rail network with the provision of ultra-modern trains and railways presently operating in Nigeria.
Whatever is the reason for promises of the past not being fulfilled, let's regard that as a nightmare. We will fulfill our promises, all obligations. All I'm here to thank the Chancellor for his visit and putting together a compact with Africa that gave us the opportunity of today. I'm looking forward to having you in Nigeria, investing more and getting the highest return on your investments. I assure you, you will do. Economic matter is a challenge. The risk factor in investment is always going to be there. Who could have expected what is happening in Ukraine? Fast investment opportunity. You have the alternative.
The president assured potential investors that Nigeria had moved beyond restrictive policies and today capital could be moved in and out of the country freely, providing flexibility for investors.
There are other reforms. The arbitrage reading exchange rate is gone forever. Now you can bring your money in and out as you wish. Easy in, easy out. But I want to appeal to you. Forget the past. My friend here said, no money, no hallelujah. No investment, no development, no hallelujah. The relationship that we seek is for all to remove all hurdles to progress, to put Nigerian-German relationship on the first-class seat of development and prosperity.
Gunmen have attacked the Adamawa State Police Headquarters, Jimeta, Yola North local government area in the early hours of Wednesday, sending residents of Yola into panic. The State Police Public Relations Officer, SP Suleiman Nguroje, confirmed the attack, but said things were under control. Nguroje said the attack was repelled, but the identities of those behind it was unknown. Reports quoted a source as alleging that the attackers were military personnel on a revenge mission following the killing or alleged killing of a military officer by the police, although it could not be independently verified if military personnel were involved, but the police said investigations were ongoing to ascertain the cause of the attack and those behind it. Abba Moro, the opposition People's Democratic Party PDP, was announced as the new minority leader of the Senate President, or by the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, during plenary on Tuesday. He replaced Senator Simon Nwadkwon, representing Plateau North, under the platform of the PDP, who was sacked by the court on October 23.
Everywhere, his name is not here. We have Senator Alero, a very distinguished and ranked senator, his name is not here. You have even the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, distinguished Senator Tambua, his name is not here. Taking cognizance of the number of senators in the minority caucus, you need to know that all you need to produce a leader is majority. If you are like 48 or 49 and 30 people have signed for one person, what is the magic that you say it should not be announced? If you are like 48 or 49 and 41 people have signed, what is the reason why you say the Senate President should not announce? It's not everybody that will agree, but majority have agreed. So I will listen to points of order, but I want you to bear something in mind. In my front, I have two papers. Some are still signing, because not all of you have signed for Senator Abba Moro. It will also be unfair for me to see somebody who has majority, and what he actually needs will be like maybe 24 or 25 senators, and he has up to 30. And then I will not...
An uproar, however, ensued in the upper chamber when Senator Ositangu, Enugu West PDP, was announced as Senate Minority Whip, replacing Senator Darlington Wokocha of the Labour Party. Senator Okechukwu Ezia from Enugu North rose to fault the nomination. His personal observation or objection was backed by Senator Tony Nwoye of the LP, who equally rose to challenge the seating of the seat of the minority leadership to the PDP, leaving the Labour Party with no representation in the Senate leadership.
Are we your slaves? The way you elected was the way you were elected. Are we your slaves? How else you can suspend me here? Are we your slaves? Every time you keep on picking leadership for us. We are not your slaves. Whether you like it or not, the way you elected was the way we elected. We are not your slaves. The way you elected was the way we elected. How you can suspend me? You have done your worst, Mr. President. What do you mean by that? You have done your worst. You have done your worst. You have put us to the wall. Thank you. Yes, we'll start with that. Meaning what? Meaning what? Meaning what? Meaning what? It's unfair. It's unfair. It's not about me, it's not about any person. It's about the institution of Senate. Thank you, sir.
After some senators pacified Nwoye, Akpabio explained that the two minority leaders had shown the signatories of the senators who agreed with the decision.
Distinguished colleagues, the Senate is in, leader of the Senate, I would have loved to confer with you, but no problem. The Senate is in receipt of two documents signed by the minority caucus of the Senate. And I've seen about 41 signatories here saying that they have a temporary replacement for the minority leader of the Senate. And this is a resolution of the minorities in favor of Senator Abamoro. And having seen that he has about 41 signatories to his credit as minority leader of the Senate, I therefore have the privilege to announce that the senior Senator Abamoro be moved forward as a minority leader of the Senate.
Meanwhile, the Senate has urged the federal government to immortalize the designer of the national flag, the late Taiwo Akinkunmi, who passed on August 29, 2023. A week after failing to appear before the House of Representatives, service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police finally appear to discuss security issues with members. This formally kickstarts the scheduled sectoral debate organized by the 10th Legislative House on ways to address salient issues that will address the many socio-economic, political and security issues that have stunted the growth and development of the country. Plus TV, Emmanuel Ihejene completes the report.
Insecurity has been a major cause of concern for Nigeria, from insecurity in the northeast to banditry in the northwest. The southeast of the country is not also spared with reports of kidnapping and killings reported daily. All these have affected the socio-economic and political life of the country, with Nigeria described as one of the unsafe countries to live in or do business. It is to this effect that the House began a sectorial debate beginning with the country's security today at the Chamber of the House of Representatives. The service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police took turns to explain their stewardship and challenges faced so far since assumption of office before members. The Inspector General of Police identified poor city of fund, poor manpower, logistics, training of personnel, and poor welfare for personnel.
We are committed to a police force that will respond adequately and appropriately to the dynamics of crimes and criminalities in our communities. Provision of logistics is very poor in the police. We have 1,537 police divisional headquarters across 774 local governments in Nigeria. But getting vehicles, operational vehicles, for the division is difficult. Each of these divisions requires at least 4 functional patrol vehicles. But we have divisions who don't have any functional patrol vehicle as of today.
Speaking on behalf of the military, the Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Christopher Musa, says the military has made a lot of gain in its fight against insurgency and banditry, stating that as a result, the military has captured grounds previously held by terrorist group. He, however, expressed worry over the activities of Simon Ekpa, an IPOP leader currently living in Finland, which he says is causing harm to the efforts of the military.
Sadly, there is no corresponding increase in accommodation facility to cater for the basic human need for the personnel of our terms of shelter. Why is most of the troops are deployed out? By the time we start reducing the strength on ground, going back to the barracks becomes a problem because there won't be enough accommodation. This development therefore poses some negative effects on the morale and fighting efficiency of the troops. This situation will also require your intervention so as to ameliorate the challenges. Issue of funding for the operational purposes. The need for adequate funding of the armed forces to overcome the issues of combat supply, such as ration for the troops, petroleum, oil and lubricants, equipment and maintenance through the procurement of spare parts and similar others in these categories are necessary. To this end, there is the need for National Assembly to facilitate the continuous release of funds for the armed forces and the police for the purpose of overcoming the issues of combat enablers and combat suppliers, which are recurrent in nature but very necessary for sustenance of the troops.
The grilling later climaxed into an executive session for further discussion.
Now from other parts of Africa, a car plunged into a crowd of supporters of politician Joseph Boakai in Monrovia on Monday evening, killing at least 2 people and injuring many more. These incidents occurred on the very evening that the National Electoral Commission announced Mr. Boakai's narrow victory over incumbent Judge Wei in the runoff presidential election on the 14th of November. The election was marked by fears of violence after the announcement of the results, but Liberia's foreign partner hailed the peaceful way in which the country emerged from years of civil war in 2003. And outside Africa, Israel's government and Hamas have agreed to a 4-day pause in fighting to allow the release of 50 hostages held in Gaza in exchange for 150 Palestinians imprisoned in Israel and the entry of humanitarian aid into the besieged enclave. Officials from Qatar, which have been mediating secret negotiations, as well as the U.S., Israel, and Hamas, have for days been saying a deal was imminent. The statement by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said 50 women and children will be released over 4 days, during which there will be a pause in fighting. Hamas said the 50 hostages would be released in exchange for 150 Palestinian women and children who are held in Israeli jails. In business news, manufacturing has always been a critical driver of any economic development and is crucial for the sustainable growth and job creation. It also has the potential to transform the nation's economy, diversify the revenue sources, and reduce the dependence on oil. Those were the words of the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Doris Uzoka Anite, at this year's edition of the Nigeria Manufacturing and Equipment Exposition, NME Expo, and the Nigeria Raw Materials Exposition, NIRAM Expo. Emmanuel Oluboboku has more.
The annual Nigerian Manufacturing and Equipment Expo jointly organized the Nigerian Raw Materials Exposition of the Raw Materials Research and Development Council afford stakeholders an opportunity to examine the state of the manufacturing sector and deliberate on the roadmap for development through the Manufacturers Partnership for African Development and masterclass sessions. The Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment is well represented here. It assures that its policy initiatives will continue to center on creating an enabling environment, incentivizing production activities, and promoting the use of made-in-Nigeria products to boost the competitiveness of our manufacturers.
Fertilizer production, in summary, luckily for us, the federal government has banned the importation of fertilizer. So the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria can do as much as possible to ensure that we produce enough fertilizer in Nigeria locally. There are 4 major types of fertilizers being produced in Nigeria. The urea fertilizer, single superphosphate fertilizer, triple superphosphate fertilizer, DAP, diammonia phosphate fertilizer, and the NPK fertilizer. Organic fertilizer is not banned, but I believe with the support of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria and with our raw material resources, we have the capacity to produce most of the organic fertilizer needs of Nigeria. If we can get the correct investors to invest in these areas, believe me, in the very few years to come, we can ban the importation of organic fertilizer also in Nigeria.
In his welcome address, the president of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Otumba Francis Meshioye, says the annual event provides a common ground for large manufacturing organizations and SMEs to explore new production processes that will increase their production output.
The theme of the 2023 Expo is Future Manufacturing, building a sustainable roadmap to the industrialization of Nigeria. The theme is informed by the unprecedented rate in which our world is changing in terms of innovation and technologies, shifting consumer expectations, as well as increasing social awareness of gender equity and restoration of previously marginalized communities. If manufacturers can efficiently balance a combination of efficient economies of production and supply chains, strong and reputable products, loyal customers, and established logistic network, as well as reliable online business elements, they'll be well positioned in the future to compete favorably in the industrial marketplace.
Participants at the event emphasized the importance of incorporating technology to produce locally made goods, support sustainable development, and reduce reliance on developed nations.
The resultant high cost of power generation not only inflates operational costs, but also diminishes the competitiveness of locally manufactured products in both domestic and export markets. So at Shell Nigeria Gas, we are committed to bridging the energy gap and contributing to the Decade of Gas ambition by providing manufacturing companies and industrial customers with clean, reliable, low-cost alternative to liquid fuels.
As you know, in recent years, the bilateral economic and trade relationship between China and Nigeria has become increasingly close. In terms of trade, China is Nigeria's largest global trade partner, while Nigeria is China's second largest trade partner in Africa. In China-Nigeria Manufacturing Corporation, China can leverage its strengths in capital, technology, and talent, while Nigeria can give full play to its advantages in market and labor.
Mann says both exhibitions have continued to serve a great purpose in improving the status of the nation's manufacturing sector, particularly with the representation of the entire manufacturing value chain at the expo floor since inception in 2016. The theme for this year is Future Manufacturing, Building a Sustainable Roadmap to the Industrialization of Nigeria. Emmanuel Olububukun, PlusTV News.
And that's where we wrap up on the news brief. Join us again at 12 for more news. My name is Nyamgul Agaji.
It for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Vicky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Who has the right of way? Nigerian roads come with a lot of chaos. The chaos is caused by a combination of drivers, motorcycle and tricycle riders, pedestrians and sellers who all claim the right of way. The chain of right of way holders in Nigeria is hierarchical, and car and motor drivers are at the top of the chain with pedestrians at the bottom. Car or motor drivers believe that they always have the right of way regardless, and motorcycle and tricycle riders don't even have any regard for who has the right of way. For fear of accidents and their lives, pedestrians have learned to cower. When a collision occurs, the question of who has the right of way is on the lip of all concerned as they try to figure out who is guilty. The law doesn't grant anyone the right of way, but you yield it to other road users under these circumstances. At a yield sign, to pedestrians in a crosswalk, to persons using a seeing eye guide dog, to persons using a white cane with or without a red tape, at T intersections where you must yield to vehicles on the through road, at uncontrolled intersections where vehicles are already in the intersection, when driving on an unpaved road that intersects with a paved road, when returning to the roadway after a car is parked. Pedestrians must always be yielded the right of way at intersections and crosswalks. Treat bicycles as motor vehicles. Yield to bicyclists in all situations where you would yield to a car. For example, wait for an oncoming bicycle to pass before turning left. Turn right at a red light if it's permitted and no vehicles are approaching. If you see a sign that says no right turn on red, then you must wait for the light to turn green again. Otherwise, you must turn right at a red light after yielding to oncoming traffic. Stop for pedestrians who've begun crossing the road. Once a pedestrian has begun crossing the road, they have the right of way. You should also stop for pedestrians waiting to cross at crosswalks that aren't controlled by a traffic light. Yield to oncoming traffic if you're entering a main road.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us on Business Insights as we focus on side hustling in the wake of the nation's crippling insurance. A side job ideally is a way to earn extra income, particularly with Nigeria's current weak economics indicators showing a high inflation rate, a high unemployment rate, and a high poverty rate. The outbreak of the coronavirus in 2020 brought to the fore the need for individuals to diversify their sources of income to hedge against adversity that could occur if they get laid off from work. Having another source of income is a commendable financial decision, but it is an arduous step to take, especially when you are combining it with your main job. However, merging both is not rocket science, as all it requires is good planning and time management. On the show this morning, we'll be focusing on how to manage your side hustles with your full-time job so that none of them actually suffers. We'll take a quick break and we'll return in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. First off, manufacturing has always been a critical driver of any economic development and is crucial for sustainable growth and job creation. It also has the potential to transform the nation's economy, diversify revenue sources, and reduce dependence on oil. Now, those were the words of the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment at this year's edition of the Nigerian Manufacturing and Equipment Exposition and the Nigeria Raw Materials Exposition, NIMRA Expo. Details now. Move on now. With the economic downturn in Nigeria, practically everybody needs an extra source of income to survive. Though this is true, being prudent while at it is very crucial to eschew losing your main job over your side hustle. No matter how much money your side hustle gives you, you must prioritize your full job when you are at work. It is vital to give your main job utmost focus. I'll introduce my guest in a moment after this quick break. Stay with me.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interaction.
All right, welcome back to Business Insight in Plus TV Africa as we look at side hustles in the wake of the biting inflationary pressure in the country. My guest, Mark Idiahe, is an inspirational leadership coach, brand and communication strategist. His career vision is to be involved in assessing the need for, acquiring and implementing revolutionary strategies and systems for top-notch performance in organizations through exceptional leadership approach. Idiahe is a social enterprise developer, a leadership mentor, and sought-after speaker on topics related but not limited to leadership, governance, growth, and collaborative development. He is the publisher of a foremost Pan-African magazine called African Future Leadership Magazine. Many thanks for joining me on Business Insights, Mark.
Thank you so very much. Glad to be here.
Yes, it is indeed our pleasure. Let's talk about side hustles. You know, in the wake of the biting inflation that everyone can actually relate to, most people are looking at having one or two other jobs, attached, to their normal source of livelihood. How do you really react to this new development because of the way things are going on right now in the country?
All right. Once again, thank you for having me. Now, first of all, we must admit that this is an unusual time and people are barely surviving. So I tend to live with just one source of income is a strategy for financial crisis. And I'm not going to be apologetic when I reference the first man here. I mean, if I go a bit spiritual, the first man God created, he put him in a place called Eden and he gave him 4 streams. Think about it. If God in his wisdom and his multifaceted dimension in nature will create a man and put him in a perfect, what I would love to call a perfect utopia, where everything was well garnished and polished and everything working perfectly, and he thought that it was critical that that man had 4 streams of income. Why in the world would anybody in his right senses think that he can strive in an economy as complex as Nigeria's economy with 1 streams of income? Now, the question I've often asked people around that are on 9 to 5, you call them 9 to 5ers. How in the world are you coping with this incessant increase in price of commodity, household items, when your salary is not increased correspondingly? I mean, you go to market today, for instance, and you see an item that has doubled in price. You were in the market 2 weeks ago. Now you're in the market, back to the market, and they tell you that the price have doubled. And the way they can rationalize that is to tell you, hey, are you not in this country? Are you not following the trend with the currency and with the fluctuation in exchange rate and all of that? So why should anyone? I understand in your intro you said something that we should not, in a bid to have side hustle, then play down the significance of having the main hustle. Yeah, there has to be that moderation. There has to be that balance. Your main hustle is good. You have to have that going. But you have to be strategic and very pragmatic by devising strategy to have other streams of income. Otherwise, you're going to choke in this economy.
All right, still speaking of streams of income, most people have actually moved towards the line of entrepreneurship. They are using their skills or most of the things they have passion for to monetize them, to be actually getting something, in return from that. I know people who ordinarily love cooking, and because of the way the economy is really biting, they have even started one sort of food business, even online. But some people would tell you that they don't really think they have such skills, or they have enough skills that could be upskilled to channeled into getting more money for them. Do you really have to be so talented to have a side hustle per se, or maybe to be an entrepreneur on your own?
No, not exactly, my brother. What they need is to think and think outside of the box. When a man is hungry enough, he will devise a meal. Hunger does 2 things to a man. Number 1, hunger can incapacitate a man. And when that happens, he lost the ability to think. And when you can't think, you'll be stagnant, you'll be stranded. Then on the flip side, hunger can become a recipe for success because it drives you from a comfort a comfort zone. And comfort zone in the first place is an illusion. It's not real. Comfort zone, I liken it to a rocking chair, you know. The thing I hate about rocking chair is that you can be in one position, exerting energy, swinging back and front, and you never so gifted with the ability to conceive grand idea for you to be able to be successful. There are clues here and there. For instance, I resigned from, I'm not in any way trying to undermine people that do 9 to 5, but I resigned from that about 7 years ago because I wanted to be able to be in a place and make a whole lot of things happen online, leveraging on the online. There are many things that anyone can do in this age and time without having to move around. And by the way, if you're going to be successful financially, mind you, it's not going to be by hard work, so to speak, in this contest. It's not going to be by how much hustling you have done. I know we call it side hustle, but you can be in one spot and you leverage on online platform. I have a friend who is into graphics, for instance, and his clients are US-based clients and from United Kingdom, from different parts of the world. And I asked him a couple of days ago, why don't you love to take clients from Nigeria? Why don't you prosper for Nigeria clients? And he said, sir, with all that is happening with the currency, I'm in a vantage position if I have clients that are US-based or Canadian or in UK, for instance, because they get to pay me in their currency. And by the time I convert that, that's a whole lot of money. Just to reference the point, just to put it in proper perspective, I was reading one commentary by an economist a few hours ago. And he said that this devaluation of Naira is intentional by the government so as to encourage exportation and discourage importation. Now, I don't intend to laugh, but it's interesting. It's an interesting conundrum here because you are saying that for us to be able to encourage and get people to export things or merchandise and co, there is need for the value to be devalued. That sounds good. Logically, economically sounds good. But the last time I checked, all the economists can't even seem to find their way out of this conundrum we find ourselves right now. Because their permutation, their projection, and their analysis and co, they are not working. This is my point. As long as that economic policy does not affect the life of the common man when it comes to household goods, then we are in trouble. Because what you have on the street, the restlessness, the crime rates, and this depression and all of these things happening is as a result of common man, as it were, not able to eke out a living, not able to fend for themselves. So any smart governments or policy makers have to be determined in ensuring that whatever policies that they come up with has to positively affect the common man. But the positive side of that is truly with the way currency is going right now, anybody who can be in a position to export would definitely be in a vantage position. So we are not just looking at the Nigerian economy, how you can survive within this spell, but how about you developing skill or going for information and knowledge, asking yourself, what can I do right now from where I am to put me in a financial, in a positive position financially to be able to strive.
All right, fine. You know, some people would actually say that they really don't have enough time, that they work Monday to Friday, they work 9 to 5. But how can you really manage the 24 hours that we have in a day and still try to, get a side hustle? Or maybe put differently, how can you manage your first job and a second job without having either of them suffer?
Awesome. Now, if I were to flip this camera, you realize that I'm actually working from the house right now. We did nights. Okay. You see, time is the most valuable resource we both have. Both the janitor and the CEO in the Fortune 500 have one thing, one equilibrium. I love to call it equilibrium. Is a unifier. Time. What you do and how you manage your time will determine where you'll be in the nearest, let's say 5 years from now, invariably.
All right, Mark, do we still have you there? It is really very,
Yeah,
very... Okay, go
you
ahead.
can't keep complaining that you don't have time. How many hours in the day are you sleeping? Because...
All right, we seem to be having a connection issue there. Oh, it's Mark. Mark, can you hear us? Yeah, but just before we lost Mark there, we've been talking about how you can actually, manage your time, be very efficient about it, because some people might even expect us to have like 36 hours in the day just to do all they need to do at the time. But you have to be a very effective or efficient time manager if you really want to plan your finances, your resources, and of course all of the other side hustles or second jobs that you might have in mind. Do we still have Mark there? All right, Mark, go ahead. We lost you at some point. Yeah, continue, please.
Okay, good. So it all comes to this. How are you able to manage your time? For you to be successful, you have to be a good manager of your time. We all have 24 hours in the day. Like I hinted earlier, I'm working from the house right now. I don't have to get to the road, drive from one end of the street or from one place to the other. If I can do what I can do now. Look at what technology have afforded us. On a way back, I will have to be in your office, in your studio right now for us to have this conversation. But you are on one end and I'm on the other side, and we are having this conversation and we are having the best of our time. Why? Because we are maximizing the moment and the opportunity that technology throws at us. So if you don't have time, if I was a 9 to 5, what I would is to set up time. When did I get to the house from work? See, all the many things. I don't watch TV. I don't have no business with TV and all the frivolous things that do. Anything that will not translate and have a positive impact in my bottom line and develop me and position me to be more efficient, I have no business with that. Most people now want to devote a large chunk of their time to, aside the work. Your life is not all about the work. What do you do with the other extra time that you have?
Okay.
That is very important.
All right, okay, Mark, let's leave side hustles for one moment and let's see if we can bring leadership into all of this, because you will agree with me that some of the issues that we have in the country is related to the choices of leadership and some of the policies that we have. And I know on Friday you are celebrating excellence in leadership. Can you tell us more about that?
Okay, we've been on this for the past 7 years, and yours sincerely is the convener of Future Leadership Conference and Award, because leadership is critical. Africa is, over the years, have been defined as a dark continent. To me, that's a wrong way to describe a continent that is so full of potential and have a lot going on. This year, for instance, we are having the 8th edition on the 24th of this month, and the theme is very, very critical. The Renaissance, repositioning Africa for global relevance. And here we're going to be having a robust conversation on the Africa continent, the leadership of Africa, because we can no longer leave politics to politicians. We no longer need more politicians in leadership. Instead, we need more leadership in politics. Now, if you get that, the problem with Africa will be solved, because we are tired of having this situation where we have people come into leadership, they clamor to be in leadership. We vote for them, they campaign, and they will tell you they would rather die if they don't get into politics. Then you give them the opportunities only for things. It's almost as if things get worse when they come into power. So what exactly is the reason for that? The reason for that is the lack of transformational leadership. And may I tell you this, it will take transform people to transform the society. The transformation that we seek in the nation, in the continent, in the office, in whichever demography, in whichever place, has to come from people, has to be people inspired, because the highest form of leadership is inspiration. Being able to inspire people to be the best version of themselves, being able to bring up changes, and this change comes from people. It doesn't come from machine. It's not from AI. AI doesn't regulate the systems and bring policy, come up with policies that can help to run the administration and the governance. No, it's going to take people. It's going to take ideology. It's going to take philosophy. So this is why we are having this conversation on the 24th, and we have people coming in from different places, different continents in Africa. We have Dr. Sami who will be flying in from Malawi.
All right.
We have
All right, so if we have to start going into details, that will be actually doing a proper marketing. But then we look forward to, seeing more improved leadership in not just Nigeria, but in Africa. And of course, and Trust Plus TV will be there to cover and make sure that this of the show for this morning. And as we go on the show, we must say a very big thank you to all of our viewers who have sat back to watch, and we do appreciate you. My name is Justin Akadonye. Business Insight returns to your screen same time next time. Bye for now.
You're in a queue, for example, and you go to some places or some countries and the queue is the queue. You have to join from the back, right? And that's conducive because, hey, I was here before you. Makes sense. But then you find some people that they just don't have the time and everybody is in a hurry and they jump to the front stylishly, the queue is at the back. We need to see more of that nowadays. You've probably experienced a scenario like this. You're waiting in line for a service or to buy something, and someone who sees the long queue comes along and goes straight to the front of the line, completely disregarding everyone standing. In most cases, some people on the queue will speak up, but some will look on with utter disbelief. With teeming population, it is almost inevitable not to experience queuing. If you're not queuing at the bus station, you're queuing at the ATM or in the bank, or to get tickets to your favorite show. Queuing is a way to create orderliness and to ensure that there is some fairness. But like clockwork, there will always be the impatient ones or the ones who feel too smart that they find a way to jump the queue. Queues are not created to simply waste time but to ensure orderliness, because the chaos that happens without the orderliness leaves a lot of people bitter, angry and helpless. The reason why queuing is challenging for us can be associated with the way we see it. Darden Professor Elliot N. Weiss and colleagues Graham Gillam, Kylie Simmons and Donald Stevenson explained that across the globe, people wait for food and transportation, to make purchases, to get services, or to have experiences. But how they view the wait, what the rules are, and what they expect vary widely. Some cultures see needing to wait as almost always negative, while in other societies, seeing there is a line can signal there's something worth waiting for. In an environment where they don't call it out and they allow people to jump the queue, and jumping the queue becomes normal and the norm, they won't say anything wrong with it. They will continue to do it because they can't see the bad in it. You get to an environment where, hey, it's not possible for you to ever think of jumping the queue because people say, get back. Excuse me, we've been here before you, join the queue. There and then you notice that you've done something wrong.
it conditions your mindset. I can't jump the queue in this environment. It's not acceptable. And so you begin to readjust yourself. It's a culture change.
Instead of seeing queues as a waste of time, see it as a way to better manage time. It is also a way to ensure fairness and equity. The next time you feel the urge to jump a queue, don't. Instead, remember some of these guidelines. Make up your mind if you will join the queue or not. Once you have joined the queue, stay in your line. You may decide to ask what the waiting time is before you join the queue. Some organizations will provide this service. Try to stay in lane, only reserve by using someone you know. Never say you want belongings. Try not to leave shopping bags on the floor. Acknowledge the number of bags you're carrying. If you forgot something, unless it is close by, you will run the risk of losing your place once you leave the queue. Exercise huge amounts of patience, even when the queue appears endless. If you're holding a place for someone, explain to others around you to avoid conflict. Sometimes, the queue may be a telephone inquiry. You may have the option of calling back or leaving a message to be called back. If someone appears like they're jumping the queue, politely correct them without getting into a squabble. Always wait your turn if the queue is automated. Sometimes you may need to wait to be beckoned, served, or for the green light before proceeding. Follow the rules and move orderly.
Nearly 400,000 babies are born each day worldwide, according to the United Nations. The COVID-19 pandemic is not stopping women from continuing to have them. Some tell us that they were already expecting or had plans to have them before the COVID global crisis erupted. However, others worry about how the decisions to have a child may affect mother and baby, as the current time proves to have some worrisome health and economic challenges. So what does research say about pregnancies and the coronavirus? We explore this and more coming up on today's episode. Hello, I am Orion Itangishaka. Welcome to Our Voices. On this episode, we discuss maternal health during a pandemic. Doctors know that viruses can affect pregnant women and their developing fetuses, and now they are scrambling to understand the effect of COVID-19 on pregnancies. Carol Pearson explains.
When a woman is pregnant, her immune system changes to protect her growing baby. But these changes make her more vulnerable to certain viruses, such as the flu, and increase her risk of serious health problems. So far, studies about pregnant women infected with the new coronavirus show both reassuring and alarming results.
They had increased hospitalization, and they had increased ICU admission, and they had increased receipt of mechanical ventilation when they compared them to women of the same reproductive age with COVID-19 that were not pregnant.
Doctors are trying to determine if COVID-19 is more dangerous for pregnant women than getting the flu. Yet the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says pregnant women who get COVID-19 and are hospitalized have higher rates of serious illnesses, are more likely to have miscarriages, deliver babies prematurely, and more likely to have stillborn babies. Other studies contradict these results.
Since COVID-19 is so new, we don't have all of the data that we really need to make an assessment as to what level of risk it imparts on a pregnant woman.
For example, could stress be a factor? Pandemic-related hurdles to prenatal care, like lockdowns, prevented some women from getting checkups.
Take a breath and go right back at it.
Or even getting medical care when giving birth. Some women put off seeing their doctors out of fear of getting the coronavirus.
Prenatal care, particularly in the third trimester, is one of the ways that we ensure both mother's health and ensure that there aren't stillbirths.
Until more is known, pregnant women need to protect themselves from the coronavirus by wearing face masks, social distancing, avoiding crowds, and practicing good hand hygiene. Doctors say women also need to call their physician if they notice decreased fetal movement.
Thanks, Carol, for that report. The fear of getting infected while pregnant is very real for mothers. Somali health authorities say that the number of maternal checkup and childhood vaccinations are plunging during the pandemic, as many people fear catching COVID-19 at clinics and hospitals. Healthcare workers worry the lack of medical care for pregnant women and children could result in a wave of common disease that could take more victims than COVID-19. Mohammed Shiknor reports from Mogadishu.
Amina Mustaf and her family were displaced by the drought 3 years ago and have since been living in a Mogadishu relief camp. Her 3-week-old baby needed vaccinations, but she was too afraid of catching COVID-19 to go to a clinic.
I couldn't go to a healthcare facility because of this COVID-19. It is spreading across the entire world. I fear for my health and that of my child. We are scared of contracting the virus at a health facility. My child and I have missed important prenatal and postnatal vaccinations, all because of this COVID-19.
Somali health workers are alarmed by the sharp decline in child immunizations and visits to the clinics during the pandemic. Volunteers like Saadia Ahmed are going door to door, urging families to vaccinate their children, but it is no easy task.
Every mother, whether pregnant or lactating, says they are not ready to come to the health facility for vaccination. Most fear contracting COVID-19.
The ICRC says visits to the Somali Red Crescent clinics by children under 5 and pregnant women dropped by more than half in the first 7 months of this year compared to 2019.
COVID-19 has badly affected the entire country and forced mothers and children not to come to health centers for vaccinations in fear of the virus. This fall in vaccinations will result in more and more children contracting contagious diseases.
We have indeed realized vaccination numbers have dramatically dropped due to the emergence of COVID-19. Nonetheless, Somalia's health ministry is exploring new ways to urge people to embrace vaccinations as a way of preventing contagious diseases and reducing child mortality rates.
Flooding around Mogadishu in recent months also risks waterborne disease, warns the ICRC. The floods are further straining Somalia's pandemic-stretched health system and only adding to the worries of mothers like Mustaf. Mohammed Shiknor for VOA News, Mogadishu.
We're going to take a quick break. When we return, some couples may be intentionally delaying having a baby during this pandemic. Others just didn't plan on having a child during this global health crisis. That is what happened to my colleague Ifyak. I'll explain more after the short break.
Being part of Our Voices is about more than just sitting here and talking about women's issues. It's about listening to them
and bringing their opinions to the table and making sure their voices are heard.
Because our lived experiences, our stories, and our voices will help shape the next generation.
Welcome back, you with Our Voices. Let's go to Jos, Nigeria. When the worldwide pandemic was declared, my VOA colleague Ifeoki Teng's wife was already pregnant. He tells us about that experience.
My wife Nambam and I didn't plan to have a child in the midst of a global pandemic, but we didn't have a choice. The first case of COVID-19 in Nigeria was confirmed in February, when my wife was already 7 months pregnant. Nambam went into labor 3 weeks early. We rushed to the hospital and were grateful to see few patients in the waiting room. On April 18th, we welcomed Deborah Emewabasi into the world. In Nigeria, a grandmother usually comes to stay with the new parents to help with the baby and the mother's healing after the birth. But with the COVID-19 travel restrictions and both our mothers in the high-risk age range, we have to handle things on our own, including entertaining our 3-year-old son. Despite the increasing number of infections, Nigerian authorities on May 4th eased a weeks-long lockdown in major cities, but not in Jos. So I continue to work from home as much as possible to keep my growing family healthy.
I reached out to Ifeok and his wife to find out how they're doing and to learn more about their experience in welcoming their bundle of joy during this pandemic. Take a look.
I'm going to start with you, Ifeok. How worried were you when you realized that there was a global crisis happening, a pandemic? How worried were you for your pregnant wife and new baby?
For me, I'll say it just brought a lot of uncertainty. Having a child, and my wife was already in the 3rd trimester. And so I think I just had a lot of fears of, what would this mean? Which hospital do we go to? Which hospital can we be sure that, we'll be safe, for this? I think we feared a lot of complications, and so we're just uncertain. I think that's the word we just used to be uncertain of what, this will bring.
Now, Ifeok, how about the lockdowns? Was that a hurdle for you in getting the medicine and the food that your wife and baby needed during and after the pregnancy?
I think one of the blessings was essential services were allowed to function, and essential services included, of course, apart from people in the grocery stores and pharmacists and medical personnel. But I say thank God journalists were also allowed to function, and so with a press card I was able to move around. I think the only problem was the scarcity of some of the medical supplies. There's always a list which she's given to bring to the hospital some medical supplies to come with to the hospital when it's time for to give birth. And I think at some point we went around from pharmacist to pharmacist to pharmacist trying to find a specific medical supply, and it was very hard to get it. I think we actually just went to the hospital hoping that while she's there, somebody else can run around and still go and check and find before the whole process is over. Yes. So
now I'm going to turn to you, Mrs. Etang. Now, how was your pregnancy and delivery experience during this pandemic overall?
Okay, I'll say my pregnancy this time was different from the first because this time around I had to wear my mask. I had to be extra careful going to the hospitals because I had fears and I wasn't sure about the sanitary level of the hospital. So I had to be careful, kept social distance. And for the delivery went well. I had my husband around and had my mother-in-law and my mom. They were all there. And fortunately for me, on arriving the hospital, there were fewer patients there. And so I wasn't as anxious, I wasn't afraid. And I progressed in labor and the baby came.
How was your postpartum care for you and baby? Were you worried about going in and out of facilities, hospitals, clinics? Were you worried about you and your baby contracting COVID-19?
Yeah, for my postpartum care, I didn't enjoy some privileges I had the last time. Because here in Nigeria, when a woman puts to bed, she either goes to her mom's house or the mom comes over to her house. And so I didn't enjoy all of that because I had to just stay home with my husband and he helped around.